How many of you here in this ecosystem are not on the electronic format? If there's any hands, I'll be surprised. There are no hands. Clearly, we are all in the data ecosystem, where data is the new oil. So I thought, let me share with you what I see on the horizon and why we need to be focusing on certain key parameters which are of crucial necessity. First and foremost, this report, which tells us that the ransomware attacks have grown by more than twofolds in the first 6 months of 2023. These reports tell us that the cyber attacks are constantly increasing, and on an average, it's costing you about 17.9 crore rupees to get back to normalcy in the event there's a cybersecurity breach. The coming of ChatGPT has completely changed the landscape. Everybody wants to see ChatGPT as the next, shall I say, solution, the magic genie for everything, but it has its own peculiar problems as we go forward. GPT-4 is much better, but then GPT-4 also has hallucination problems when we want to rely upon this ecosystem as we go forward. There's no denying the fact that we are now in the data economy space. And in this data economy, data is the new oil. Therefore, we'll have to concentrate on the legal policy ramifications of data. First things first, we have to realize that in India, if you are dealing with the electronic format, you are governed by the Indian cyber law, being the Information Technology Act 2000. This law is 23 years old, but continues to be the mother legislation for everything in the electronic format. So in India, if you use computers, computer systems, computer networks, computer resources, communication devices, as also data and information in the electronic form, you get covered by this law. Now this law has actually come up with a new concept. The concept is that of an intermediary. And all PSUs who are there, any company who is there, all come in the category of an intermediary under Section 21W because they are a legal entity who on behalf of another person is receiving, storing or transmitting data. No wonder they are governed by IT Act, and now they're governed by the IT Rules 2021. Now, you have to comply. That's the first message I want to give you. You don't comply, and you face two consequences. One is civil liability, up to 5 crore rupees, contravention, damages, and the second is you can also face criminal liability of imprisonment and fine. So clearly, the focus is coming back on compliance. If you have not yet complied, you can walk the walk towards digital transformation, but you're not going to be completely successful. Because Rule 7 is clearly telling us, if you don't comply with the IT Rules 2021, the Suraksha Kavach that the law has provided you is going to be snatched away from you, and that you will become liable for being punished for offenses under the Indian Penal Code and the Information Technology Act. The High Court has already now upheld the legal status and the constitutionality of the IT Rules 2021 in this matter, where I was the amicus curiae appointed by the court. In addition, I think as public sector undertakings, you will have to come under this statutory exemption from legal liability that would be there if you want to be on the right side of the law. Why? Because if there's any contravention, then the law says the company can't be sent to jail, but the top management can be sent to jail, and they are liable to be punished accordingly in this regard. On cyber security, there's so much of talk. But India, while it had come up with the National Cybersecurity Policy of 2013, we did not implement it. So today, we have nothing. We don't even have a dedicated cybersecurity law. But the government last year, 28th of June 2022, came up with the IT directions. Now these directions are path-breaking, are phenomenal, primarily because these directions are telling you, if you come to know of a cybersecurity breach, you will have to mandatorily report it within 6 hours. You don't report it, it actually becomes an offense, punishable with imprisonment and fine. On top of it now, 11th of August 2023, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, or the DPDP Act, has come into force. Right now, as we talk, government has been asked to give us more time, but they are working on appointing their data protection board and coming up with rules and regulations. Bottom line is very clear. Every PSU is becoming a data fiduciary under this new law because it's dealing with third-party data of data principles. And it's required to comply with minimum parameters pertaining to protecting the security, authenticity, veracity, and correctness of data. Further, the law is talking about data principles. You, I are all data principles because we are entities to whom data belongs to. And we have various duties that are stipulated therein. But then there is a problem. This law is now coming up with humongous, shall I say, liabilities. And there's a conflict between this law and the IT Act. So in such a scenario, PSUs will have to ensure compliance both with the IT Act and the DPDP Act. Further, thumb rule is the data principle now becomes the new god in this digital economy. Till now in India, we did not consider anything about this data principle to whom the data belonged. Now, this law says you will first have to give notice to the data principle. Sir, I will be collecting your data. This will be for the purpose for which I am collecting your data. Please give me consent. If he gives you consent, only then you will be able to ensure the processing, otherwise not. But the data principals have even the right to go ahead and get their personal data corrected or modified. There's a data protection board that's been set up. This board is going to levy fines up to 250 crore rupees per contravention. You're not satisfied, you go and appeal to the TDSAT or the Telecom Regulation Tribunal. But bottom line is, the fact is, for the first time, we suddenly have to wake up. You don't comply with this law, no problem. You just need to be prepared for just putting aside 250 crore rupees per contravention. So you don't comply with the law, a complaint is going to go to the Data Protection Board. Board can give you a fine up to 250 crore rupees, and that fine does not go to the complainant. It goes to the government coffers in the form of Consolidated Fund of India. So, if you have 5 contraventions, you could potentially be fined 1,250 crore rupees. Now, this is a huge volume, therefore, people have to wake up and start ensuring compliance because there are various parameters how these 250 crores are going to be actually awarded. But there are problems. Most of the people are still not aware of the DPDP Act and are not ensuring compliance with the same. The problem is we have been inspired by the GDPR or the General Data Protection Regulation of the European Union, but we have not taken the complete principles therein. So the Indian DPDP Act is a very watered down version of the GDPR, and it does not deal on any aspects pertaining to cyber security. So you have this huge problem of how do you balance data protection and cyber security. Primarily because cyber security and data protection are intrinsically connected with each other. No wonder, the fact is there are going to be now new rules and regulations. The government is saying by the end of October 2023, they will come up with these new rules, and it will be a different ball game altogether. Basically, the only difference is India says any contravention, 250 crore rupees fine. GDPR says, no, no, no. I will fine you up to 4% of your annual global turnover, whichever is okay. So in this ecosystem, when Indians are going more and more on the Web 3.0, the time has come that we have to start waking up to these new compliances as we go forward. Therefore, due diligence, compliance, and care, caution will have to be your only mantra as you go forward in doing your activities in the digital ecosystem. This is my law firm, Pavan Duggal Associates, and we work on the intersection of law and technology. This is what others talk about us. And I can tell you, every day is a new day because we learn so much from the clients, from the distinctive things, how the trends are evolving in cyberspace as we go forward. So various services we provide. One services, of course, is the DPDP services. And they are best represented by these 3 figures. So the DPDP red is a bare minimum compliance that you do with the DPDP Act. The DPDP orange is a more detailed compliance. But if you want to be totally compliant, we advise you that you do the DPDP green for complete compliance with this law per se. So hence the focus is all going to be on capacity building. That's why programs like these, which are aimed at enhancing capacity building, assume far more significance. I've created a platform called cyberlawuniversity.com. I'm offering about 37 courses online. These courses have already been done by 29,500 professionals from 174 countries. And I can tell you these figures are telling us that there is a need for massive capacity building as we go forward. In about more than 5 weeks' time, we are hosting the big international conference, the International Conference on Cyber Law, Cybercrime, and Cybersecurity, 29th, 30th November, 1st December. This is a huge conference. We've got about 45 sessions, 300 speakers, 1,500 people coming in, and the focus is rise of emerging technologies and their impact. I'll encourage all of you to come and be part of the deliberations. More than 160 organizations globally are supporting this conference. So bottom line is very clear. All I can say is, please ensure compliance. You now have to realize that as a PSU, as a normal organization, you have already jumped into the Kurukshetra. And when you're in the Kurukshetra, you have no choices because arrows are flying all across. So this is the new digital age Kurukshetra where there is radioactive exposure for all of you. So the only way that you can actually prevent that radioactive exposure is try to put in a firefighting suit, a radioactive suit, so that your potential legal liability can be minimized. Don't really take the law very lightly. In our country, once you commit an offense, then that's it. भारत में सारे लोग चोरी करते हैं, जो पकड़ा जाए वो चोर कहलाता है. आपको देखना है कि आप पकड़े ना जाएं, क्योंकि एक बार आपने ऑफेंस कर दिया तो अगले 7 सालों के लिए सरकार के पास पावर है कि वो कभी भी आकर आप पर कार्रवाई कर सकती है. अगर आप पीएसयू हैं तो ये नेसेसरी नहीं है कि आपको एक ब्लैंकेट एग्जेम्पशन है. ऑन द कॉन्ट्री, अगर कॉन्ट्रवेंशन है तो कहीं ना कहीं आज नहीं तो कल दुखदाई हो जाएगी. प्लीज एंश्योर adoption of cyber security as a way of life as we go forward. That's the only way. Do your complete compliances and then go ahead. I'm not saying running away from the internet. All I'm saying is just ensure that you're complying with the applicable law so that your exposure to potential legal liability can be limited to the best extent possible. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure talking.